What is up, guys? Just a guy on my lunch break is back. I figured I'd make a quick video. We hit 1,000 subs last night. That's pretty awesome, man. Just a guy who is on his lunch break. It's funny that I gave myself that name because when I first started this channel, that's the only time I had to really devote to doing videos is when I was on my lunch break at work. Since then I've had a job change. I've gotten laid off from that job. I'm going to be starting another job soon. So this channel and the videos have kind of branched out and spanned out into, well, I'm just doing the videos whenever. But I like the name so much, and the name stuck so much. And people even call me that at times, the lunch break guy. I had people call me Mr. Lunch Break before, which I find that quite comical. I just find it interesting, just a guy on here talking about Kratom, in most cases, not sharing any, sentient knowledge, this, omniscient, all-knowing, all-wise one sort of knowledge. I'm not doing that on here. I'm just kind of a guy. I'm not saying I don't have some good sound bites here and there and make some good points, but I am saying that, yeah, there's nothing special about me, man. I'm just a guy, not only on my lunch break, but I'm just a guy who has struggled with addiction for a large portion of my life, and Kratom happens to be the latest and most recent addiction in the line of a long stint of time and stint of different substances that were an addiction for me. I promise the light will clear up here a little bit in a minute, guys. I'm at the sun at my back, so it's kind of blackening me out a little bit on the screen. I apologize for that. But look, we hit 1,000 subs last night. I think that's pretty awesome for a guy just getting on here, sharing his experiences. And I think one thing that makes my situation unique is, I have compassion for people, and I have empathy for people. And I especially have a lot of compassion and empathy for people who are going through the same thing that I'm going through. Because people who struggle with drug addiction, the drug addiction itself is a state in your mind. It's a disorder. It's a way that your brain functions that is different than the way everybody else's does. All right? And for that, in and of itself, we can't control that. Some people are drug addicts, some people aren't. You can take 5 people, you can give them all the same drugs, the same amount at the same time, and at least one, well, not 5, I don't know what the exact statistic is, but let's say 100 people. You take 100 people, give them all the same drugs at all the same different points in their lives. 5 or 10 of them are going to take that thing to a whole different level, while the other 90 or 95 will be like, oh, that was cool, that was fun, but nah, I'm good. I don't really need it anymore. And for whatever reason, the drug addict mindset and the drug addict mentality, some people think of it as a disorder, causes you to compulse about it. And I definitely tend to have compassion on people who deal with that and who struggle with that, partly because I've struggled with it. And despite the fact that some of the things we may have done, some of the ways that we may have treated people, some of the selfish tendencies that we may have had as a result of our drug addiction in our lives, and putting that drug before we put other things that should be important to us in our lives, outside of that, I'm able to look at it from a third-party perspective and understand that you're still good people. I'm still good people, and I'm a person who loves others empathizes with others. I have compassion on others. I want to see others do well. I want to see others achieve. I want to see others overcome. And it's important for myself that I do those things as well. I'm 70 days now. It's been 10 weeks for me off of Kratom, and it was, well, I'm on my 71st day, I guess it would be right now, because it was 7 Fridays ago that I actually quit. So yesterday would have been 70 days, today 71. So yeah, as time moves along, and I wanted to share this analogy that one of my listeners shared with me the other day. I won't say her name because I don't know how she feels about that, but she, you know, I've made quite a few friends by doing this channel. Damn, that's dark. You guys can probably barely see me. I've made quite a few friends while doing this channel that I've connected with in other areas, like on social media and things like that. And this is one of those people, and we've connected on Facebook, and she sent me a message the other day, and she's actually off, been off of Kratom for several weeks now. Way to go, by the way. I have been getting your messages. And she made a good analogy, and I wanted to share it with you guys. She said, it occurred to me the other day that being without Kratom these last few weeks is much like you leave work, or you leave home in the morning, or she said something similar to this. It's not verbatim, but she said something similar. It's much like leaving home in the morning, getting all the way to work, and you're too far to drive back or you'll be late, and realizing that you left your phone at home, right? And you know us, this day and age, 2024, everybody's walking around with a, you know, little computer in their pocket called a cell phone, right? Smartphone, iPhone. And how sucky it feels, and how off you feel, and how lonely you feel, and you feel that something is just missing, right? When you don't have that phone with you. And she was explaining that that's how her days feel now. That she feels like she's missing something, or she feels like she's left something somewhere, or left something at home, you know, something that's important to you, right? Obviously a cell phone is very important. I mean, most of us, we left our cell phone at home, even if we don't typically have to have our phone throughout the day. You know, most of us would drive back 15, 20, 30 minutes. We'd make an hour commute to go back and get our phones. A lot of us, that's how important our phones are to us. And I just thought that was a great analogy. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, that's a great analogy. That's absolutely true. That is exactly what it feels like. A little different, because there's a lot of play on the mind, you know, that goes along with coming off of something like Kratom. There's, you know, some of the anhedonia, the depression, the low energy, the low mood. You get a lot of that stuff when you're coming off of something like Kratom, which is one of the reasons I think it's really important to exercise a lot, especially cardio, drink a ton of water, eat super healthy so you can get those vitamins and nutrients in your body, to really help your body kind of reset to homeostasis and baseline and stuff like that. So if any of you out there are off of Kratom and have recently come off, kudos to you. Keep doing what you're doing. For any of you out there that are working on it, that are tapering or are looking to do a complete jump, I'm pulling for you. Look at my past videos. There's tons of information on here, on the videos, and also in the comments of people that have done this stuff before, and it's not our first time to the rodeo. There's a lot of experience on this channel. You have at least 1,000 people now. 1,000 people is a lot. You have at least 1,000 people out there that have subscribed to this channel, that have looked at it and said, you know what? My issues and my past experience with substances is enough, and is personal enough to me to warrant me hitting that subscribe button on a channel where a guy's talking about substance abuse and Kratom use and Kratom abuse, right? And again, for all of you out there who, I've had people on the channel that are Kratom users, they're current Kratom users, they have no intentions of stopping. That's okay. I don't judge anyone. because it's not about the substance, guys. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but there have been plenty of times where I've got people on this channel that say, well, what's wrong with taking a little bit of Kratom if you want? You know, people who drink, there's people who drink that go home and have a few drinks in the evening after a hard day's work, and that's no big deal. You know, and no, I completely agree with that. And so I always say my talks about Kratom are very personal, and it's stemmed from my personal experience with Kratom. And that experience for me has been, it's not about the substance, right? It's about the pattern of use and abuse of that material. Because the people who say that to me are right. Oh, what's wrong with, nothing wrong with taking a little Kratom. It makes you happy. It makes you feel good. Yeah, a little Kratom. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But if you're a person like me, who, when you're in active use of it, you're taking it as soon as you get out of bed. It's the first thing you do. And then you're turning around and taking it again 3 hours later or 4 hours later. And then you're taking it again in a couple of hours. And then you're taking it again when you get home. And then you're taking it again before you go to bed. When it starts being one of those things where your whole day revolves around that substance and whether you have it with you, making sure that you're not going anywhere or going anywhere far without having your Kratom, making sure that you've always got it in your hip pocket, that sort of thing. You understand? That's where the line gets blurred between someone who's just doing it socially and then someone who is dependent upon the substance and who has to have the substance. That's what is the make it or break it, I think, for people, right? And there are people out there, just like there are social drinkers. You know, there are people out there who can control their drinking. There are people out there, I'm sure, who can control their Kratom use. Use it a couple times a day, take a few grams here, a few grams there. I've had people come on, hey, I've been taking it for 5 years, 5 grams a day, never really gone over that, never had any desire to, and I have no problems with it. That's great. And if you're one of those people, you're not really the person that I'm talking to. I mean, I am talking to you, and I'm glad that you joined the channel, because we need to see the full spectrum of the use of this stuff, right? I don't want it to be so polarized that, oh, Kratom is the devil, and I'm trying to paint this picture that it's just this horrible thing, and they should get rid of it, and it should be outlawed, and nobody should be able to use it because it's just this horrible thing. No. It depends on who you are. It depends on if you have the addict mentality. It depends on how much and how often you're utilizing the substance. The substance itself is just a substance. It's just a plant, right? But then the way in which you use it and how often and consistently you use it dictates whether it becomes something more for you or something more destructive for you personally, right? And you're the one that has to decide that. So that's what this channel's about. I haven't been posting as much recently because those who've been following me for a while, you know I got laid off from a job a few weeks ago. So I'm starting a new job next week. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that as I'm in I'm still in kind of the honeymoon phase. They definitely want to hire me. They've sent me an offer letter, stuff like that, but I'm still jumping through all the hoops, you know, the background tests or the background checks and the pre-drug screen and all that stuff. I'm still jumping through the hoops, so I don't want to put all my shit out there before I actually start the job, right? That's just kind of who I am. And I don't have like some extensive criminal history, but you know, you have to go all the way back to the 1990s to find something on me. But I do have a couple of little misdemeanor dings, you know, from when I was a younger kid, like with marijuana possession, you know, little stuff like that. Drinking underage one time. Go figure. Ironically enough, pretty much any ding I've ever had against my criminal history had to do with what? Drugs. Well, what do you know? What do you know? There's a shocker of the century. a guy running a channel about Kratom abuse has a couple of misdemeanors that are drug related. Whoa, whoa, you don't say. Anyway, you guys know I'm impartial on here. I don't judge people. If you're taking Kratom, you're currently taking Kratom, and it has a benefit for you, and you're good with where you're at with it, I'm good with you being good with it, right? And it's only when people come on and are like, you know, I'm getting tired of this hamster wheel because the way I use it is not very responsibly. I use this much a day, and then I graduated to this much a day, and I started out at 3-4 grams a day, and now 5 years later I'm taking 30, 40, 50, 60 grams per day. It's those people that need this content, right? It's those people that need to dig in to this sort of content and dig in to the whys in their life that they keep leaning towards abusing substances like this, right? Because there's always a root. There's always a root point, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at with my life, figuring out why is it that I always tend to revert back to this, right? And that's something that I'm doing some work in the background and behind the scenes trying to figure that out. You know, I don't have a whole lot in the way of childhood trauma and stuff. I mean, I went through some things, but, you know, I'm not one of those people who can point to, you know, a bunch of just, oh, I had a horrible father, or I had a horrible mom, or my dad wasn't in the household, or my parents didn't give a shit about me. I got kicked out when I was 15. You know, I don't have all these abuse stories and this and that. You know, I don't have all of that to really point to really, I can't really blame my addiction on anybody except myself, my own personal choices, maybe a little bit of genetics. I know there's, you know, definitely some addiction in the family tree there on down the line that I've heard about through the years. But, you know, it is what it is. But that's kind of where I'm at, is figuring out where's all this coming from. You know, why do you always revert back to this and others don't? Why do social users, why can they socially use and you can't socially use? You know, that's always the question for me. And it should be the question for some of you out there. Others of you, you're obviously good with where you are. And I have people come on here that haven't seen the channel very much and they don't know what I'm about. And they'll watch one video and they'll just assume that I'm some guy on here just hating on Kratom. And that's not true. That's not true at all. Wasn't good for me personally, because I abused the shit out of it. The shit out of it. As much as you can abuse anything, I abused it. But, you know, I tend to do that with anything that I'm using. If in the past, before I discovered Kratom, it was something else. It was marijuana. You know, before that, I abused Adderall. You know, back in the day before that, I abused pain pills. You know, it's just this continuous, vicious cycle that occurs in my life, and this theme that occurs in my life. And it's something that at 48, I just want to get a hold of it. I'm tired of, you know, this definition of insanity that is my life, banging my head against a wall and, you know, and then bitching and complaining when it hurts. You know, and a lot of us do that. But you use this channel for what you want to use it for. And if you're good with your Kratom use, you can still get something out of it. If it has benefit for you, you know, and if anything, if you are good with your Kratom use and you use it responsibly, then you can be one of those people that us addicts can look to, and we can see the contrast. We can see that, well, damn, this just reaffirms that I don't need to be using this shit, because here's this guy over here, or here's this gal over here who's only been using it 5 grams a day for 5 years and has never gone over that, and they're completely fine with it and have no desire to use anymore. I can't do that shit. So obviously, you know, things are different for me involving this Kratom than they are for that person or that person or that person. If everybody on here was at the same level and we were all just raging addicts about it, then we would just probably have this state of mind. Well, I mean, you know, well, look, there's 1,000 other people subscribed to this channel and they all use the fuck out of it and are addicted to it too. It is what it is. There's power in numbers. You know what I mean? If everybody else is doing it like me, it can't be that bad, right? Well, you know, that's that's definitely a subjective argument. But anyway, all right, guys, that's my little 1,000 subscribers kick. I appreciate you guys. I'm really excited to have gotten to the 1K. Hopefully it continues to grow. I know you saw a video, the most recent one I posted, actually had a thumbnail on it because I was talking about something else, you know, another related kind of hot topic right now of Diddy. And I'm going to do that from time to time. So you might start seeing some of these videos grow thumbnails all of a sudden, no pun intended. Instead of me just sitting, just my face on it, you know, I might start doing some of that because as I've come off of Kratom, I've discussed before that I have a desire to, I have other things to talk about. I have other things that I'm passionate about in life. So I may talk about some, you know, popular news or things that are happening around the world. I wouldn't be shocked to see me start delving into some of that as the channel grows and as it gets over 1,000 subscribers and all that. But I will always come back and my heart will always be with Kratom, substance use, substance abuse, drug addiction, you know, all of you other guys out there who started following me for that reason. I'll never completely get away from that, I promise. I'll try to keep it all relative best I can. All right, guys, I gotta go. Love you guys very much. I'm about to run into Lowe's, pick up a couple of things, and subscribe to the channel if you've not, if you find this content interesting, and thank you so much for watching. Peace.